Welcome to the Echo Ratings Eventing Podcast. Welcome to the Echo Ratings Eventing Podcast. And listeners, we have got a very special episode for you because our guest today is a lady who is a double European champion. She has won no fewer than 10 senior gold medals. She has a record 3 wins in Aachen, which is more than any other person. Welcome to the Echo Ratings Eventing Podcast, Ingrid Klimke.
Hello.
Oh, we are delighted to have you on the show. Anybody that listens to the podcast knows that we talk about you a lot. So to have you here in person is brilliant. Obviously, we have Aachen Digital Champion of Champions coming up, whereby some of the best over the last 15 years are going head to head in a digital competition. You have been to Aachen more times than any other rider, actually. 17 times you've been to Aachen. Just tell us a little bit about it, because we talk about Aachen being this incredible place and it always has an amazing field of horses and riders going up against one another. But what is it that makes it so special?
I really can say that I grew up in Aachen because my father competed in Aachen many years, and I did my very first competition in 1973 when I did just the kids of the riders who competed there, went in a little group together. And what happened in the single gallop, my little pony took off and I fell off. So this is my first memory of Aachen when I was very young. And but the good thing is, one of my father's friends asked what was my best wish, and I said I would like to have a dog. So my first dog came while I fall off in Aachen at my first competition ever.
Amazing.
And so my family, instead of doing family vacation, what we did is we went to Aachen. And I have 2 brothers, so when we all were allowed to go to Aachen and join that week, my parents was one of the highlights of the year. So in the beginning, I was sitting and waiting for the Sunday night when they all waved the handkerchiefs, the white handkerchiefs, and the bye-bye ceremony for all the riders. It's really touching, and I think it's unique in Aachen. Before, finally, in 2006, there were the World Championships. So the year before was the first event to try the 3-day eventing in the competition, or for Aachen was 2006, winning the World Championship with Sleep Late was the first big highlight for me to compete in Aachen. Finishing with last year.
I was going to say, I think you've probably really hit the nail on the head there. One of the things about Aachen is that obviously there is top class eventing, which is what a lot of people perhaps know about it, but there is so much more to it. There's top class dressage, top class show jumping. There's the whole sort of carnival atmosphere with the ride and drive. There's a lot of fun aspects as well, that it becomes this sort of enormous celebration of horsemanship, doesn't it?
You really meet the top class riders all over the world. Everybody is so proud and is tempted to go to Aachen. And that's why you meet the trainers, the riders. The whole week in Aachen is really like a celebration. The opening ceremony is always wonderful. And the weekend before, they do this Philharmonic concert, which I also took place twice. And this is a special, unique atmosphere in the Dressage Stadium, where they have different performances through live Philharmonic concert. So they start with this the weekend before. All the riders are coming on Monday, Tuesday. The event is on Wednesday. And then this atmosphere in Aachen, I think it's all over the world unique, because the stadiums and the whole organization is absolutely perfect in the way of making it special for the horses, for the riders, I think for all the spectators, fully booked out. And even the ones who have no idea about horses join while there's this village where you can go shopping. And I think it's not only for the riders and horses, once a year highlight. It's also for the spectators amazing to join the cross country. Last year, the cross country day was fully booked out. Nobody was able to, they closed it. I think it was first time that there was no more room for more people in the cross country. So it's a proof that they are on the very special top level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, you've ridden in Aachen since you were tiny. You've gone on to have a good deal of success there. But what is it like? You talk about that crowd. What is the home crowd like? What does that mean?
I really will never forget when I came in with Escada. That was my first win in 2015. And I was pretty much last to go. And when I started in the start box, there were not that many people anymore because they all were in the stadium. So when I entered the stadium, it was like a bomb. It was an applause. I really felt like, okay, be very quiet. There's still some offenses coming. Come on, Escada, we don't get any focus and concentration. And when I went to the finish line, the water fontaine, all of a sudden came up, and it was amazing. Really, the crowd cheered, screamed. I was galloping my round and thinking I've never felt that before. So much enthusiasm. The crowd went mad, crazy.
Unbelievably special. I know whenever you watch it, whether you're on TV or if people have been lucky enough to be there in person, that when you go into that stadium to finish the cross country, you've still, as you say, got a few questions to answer because there's the water. And, it's not over. You're chasing the clock. The time at Aachen's often quite tight. But it just strikes me as being one of those real sort of pinch yourself moments of it's very
Absolutely.
surreal almost.
Like going and jump off, because you really have to be so fast in Aachen. Always the clock really makes it so interesting, and then in reverse order. So you know that from the beginning you have to really think you are now 7 minutes jump off.
Yes.
Try to be as fast everywhere. Don't leave 1 second, let 1 second pass away, because you are sure that in the finish you can't get it anymore with the last water complex and then to the finish line. So this makes it really tight, and I think for the spectators absolutely fascinating to watch it and follow it and feel like they are really have goosebumps all over.
They're part of it. Tell us a little bit more about the horses that you've won on in Aachen.
Escada was wonderful. I know that year that coming into the stadium in Aachen is also in the dressage stadium is for the event horses quite a challenge, because you don't have this kind of stadium where you go under a bridge in a total atmosphere, shut down with the open roof, and so much spectators can join in there. So the horses leaving the warm-up phase, going into it, Escada was quite hot and excited. So I know that year that it took me a while to try to calm her down and keep her with me and keep her quiet. And then the stadium, she jumped so well, and the cross country was fantastic. So after that win, 2015, I said, I really would love to do it again. Then it took me a year, 2016. I was fourth. That was quite okay, third and fourth. And I had my dressage horses, Geraldine. She was doing the small tour, so I always tried to also compete in the dressage and even competed in the jumping, in a combination and in a pure jumping over walls and ditches. So every year Aachen, I try to take as many horses as I can. And then in 2017, Bobby did it again, or Bobby's first time, but we won the Nation Cup and we won Aachen. So that was also just wonderful to come in the finish. And then when you are jumping off, all the friends are there. My family is always there. So many people who really cheer you on while it's our home country and home crowd. Many friends are coming. So I always know then that there's hardly any sleep in the week, and you celebrate, meet people, enjoy it. So that was wonderful. And then I know that in the year 2018, I really had a wake-up call, because that was the year before trying, and I had a silly, stupid run out with Bobby where I was my fault, but I thought, okay, this is something that was good for me to wake up. Trying is coming. And that was my first big start with Francisco, so he was second in the Grand Prix. I was quite happy with him in the dressage stadium because he kept going further and further. And in 2019, Bobby did it again. So last year I have it really very fresh in my mind, and I was so happy, so proud of him. And it was really for me, looking at the clock, knowing I was always ahead of time. So for me, from the beginning till the end, I kept going, and he just was flying over it, so motivated, ears in front, looking, okay, which is the way? Keep going. Yes, cantering away. And that was also a very special moment. And then in the evening after the cross country, I had 2 more classes. I was with Weiße Düne in the combination in this nice fun thing in the jumping stadium where the eventers, the jumping and the drivers are building a team together. So Weiße Düne did a great job with my cross country round, and then I hopped off her and went in the Grand Prix stadium and rode my freestyle with Franciscus, and he was dancing around there in flashlight. It was dark, and he was brilliant with the music. So he went up second there. So I know, especially that evening or that day, I will never forget in my memories.
Unbelievably special. I mean, that's a hell of a combination of coming into that main arena, chasing the clock to win the eventing, then doing the ride and drive, which if anybody has ever seen it, is madness. It looks so much fun.
It's really fun because the crowd, in the first year, when they tried it 3 years ago, it was like, okay, let's see what we are doing. And but last year it was fully, and the crowd was really waiting for it and cheered us on. And then you have to run as fast as you can to the coach and to the drivers, and then they were flying. I was really happy that I had my vest on, my cross-country vest, because I thought if I fall off here now in one of the sharp, tight turns, then at least I have my vest here. But I love the drivers, and I really like to watch them because I think it's fascinating too how tight they turn and how quick they are doing all the elements from A to D. So this is really fun. And in the dressage competition, if the dressage arena is fully booked out, like with the eventers, for sure there's a little bit of crowd, but the eventers are happy to be in there. But if it's crowded, if the crowd is no empty seat, then you ride your freestyle with the music. It's also goosebumps. If you dance around there and think, oh yes, it's working, you get your transitions, you get your highlights, and everything, the puzzle is going well together. And then you finish, and the applause is also amazing in that stadium.
Unbelievably special. I mean, can we just touch upon the dressage for a second? Because not only have you competed for Germany at, I think, 5 Olympic Games, I think there's 10 major gold medals to your name and counting. Would you ever like to compete at the Olympics, or is that an aim in pure dressage as well as the eventing?
It was for sure the aim for this year because Francisco's I got when he was 5, and he's a breeding stallion. So the challenge was that breeding is his first job, and the second job is competing him in the competition. So he stays with his owners and at the stud, and he comes for me to training. So it took a while in the beginning that he was behaving in the dressage ring, that we were a good match because he's quite a stallion. So in the beginning he was winning and sometimes a little bit interested in the horses outside. So year by year he really improved so well that last year, 3 throws in a row, he really ended up coming to the top. That in Frankfurt last year, I was nominated for the Olympian cadre here in Germany to be selected or trying at least in the group. So for me, I thought it would be really a dream one day to be in both disciplines and have a chance to also be in the dressage in the top like my father did years. I grew up with it, and my father was the dressage top rider, and so with the eventing, I have all the adrenaline and the training, which I really enjoy so much, and then have the dressage option with a fantastic, beautiful stallion like Francisco. He's now 12. There is still a hope and a dream that he will dance around with me to the top.
Absolutely. You mentioned your father there. I think one thing that stands out to anybody that has seen you with your horses or heard you talking about your horses is the pure love that you have for them and the real horsemanship that goes in there. Your father has been a massive influence on your career, hasn't he?
Yes, because he was one of the last amateurs. So when I grew up, he always said to me, I'm not allowed to become a professional. There was a discussion that I always said, oh, I love horse. I would love to work with horse. He said, no way, because the horses belong to the family and you have to do a proper job that you deserve, that your horses is your love and your favorite private time. And if you have to do it as a job, then you will change your attitude while you have to sell them and while you have to make a business out of it, and that will change the attitude. So, for example, we never went on family vacation. Our vacation was, of our kids, was the greatest moments when we were allowed to go to Aachen or to Wiesbaden, to all the big shows, and could join into the championships. And Sunday morning, after breakfast, we all pedaled to the horses. Every lunchtime break, my father went to his horses. So the horses was always the ones, the feeling for we are allowed to go to the horses. The horses are our biggest friends. So it took me a while to persuade my father later to say, okay, you made me doing my bank job, what I only did for him, because he said, if you want to keep going with your horses and ride, you have to do something serious. So I did this for 2 years, finding out that it's definitely nothing will keep going. And then I decided, okay, I study in Münster, study sports to become a sport teacher for the young kids, because I always love to be with kids and with sports. So that was a good combination. But then I found out no chance to be a teacher and have not Friday off or even a week for Aachen, because I have to go to school and Carl tell them, okay, I come in the summer break because I don't need Mondays and Tuesdays off. So then I decided to become a professional, but it took me really a while to persuade my father. I had my mother in my back, and will never forget that talk when we said, Daddy, now it's really time. I'm 30 and I still want to do horses as my job. And then he finally said, okay, if you stay small and you if this is really what you want to do, then he finally accepted it, I would say it like this. But he always said, I don't want you to change the way you treat the horses. And so my father was in the 1916s, his first Olympics were in eventing. So this influence of him being an event rider was also what influenced me in my childhood. That, for example, the Cavaletti, every day they were there. As a kid, we jumped with the dogs over it, and later we played with the ponies and finally with the horses. And it was also a funny ritual in our family that whenever we had birthday, we all together went for a birthday hug and took the horses and went for a fun ride together. So everything was treated like horses was always a special happy times, and that's what not typical, or my father wasn't a typical dressage rider from the beginning. So our dressage horses also were jumping, doing cavaletti work, going for hugs. So it was different, like what I learned from childhood on. Maybe that's why I never really could decide which discipline is my favorite. Also jumping I really like a lot. I had a chance to jump with Fritz Ligges, one of his riders in that century. He was also competing in eventing and in jumping. So in the earlier days, it was more that the riders did different disciplines. So one of my love is also jumping. So if I have a next life, maybe I start as a jumper as well.
You never know. There's still time. I think that love of horses, as I say, really, really shines through it. And obviously in both the pure dressage and the eventing as well. Big year next year with Tokyo, so we'll come on to that in a second. But let's just talk about Aachen again, because obviously, as I say at the start of the show, there is the Aachen Digital Champion of Champions. Now, obviously, unbelievably gutted that we're not all in Aachen this year. It would be the first time, actually, you've competed at every Aachen eventing since 2006. So very sad that we're not there, but it has meant that we are able to pit some of the champions of the last 15 years against one another in a digital competition. So for anybody not familiar with how Champion of Champions is working, basically it is a snapshot in time of some of the best combinations that have ever been to the venue. So the best of the best going up against each other, and the computer will be deciding how things would have played out if they had been able to compete. So Hail Bob is your ride, Ingrid, from 2019, when of course you won. I think you finished on a 24.7 you finished on. You did a 20.7 in the first phase. And actually, fun little fact for you, Ingrid, from your 17 runs at Aachen, you average a 26 in the first phase, which is quite remarkable. Pretty impressive. But basically, so it is a snapshot in time of some of the best of the best. So Ingrid and Hail Bob from 2019, the likes of Michael Young, Labias Sam, the double Olympic champion, from his result in 2011, all the way back to 2006 and those World Championships, and Zara Tindall and Toy Town, who took their world title. So it's a real sort of amalgamation of the best, Ingrid. But it's very cool to kind of say, oh, what would have happened if these great horses could have gone up against each other?
Oh, amazing. And I think every rider who was winning it once knows that feeling is absolutely something you will always have in your heart and in your mind. And if you think of it, it makes me really smile. It really, I also enjoyed all the other wins, or was very happy for the others, because I know this feeling, how much this is a wish and a desire and a dream is coming true. So it will be really fun to watch how it's going. And something special in Aachen is too that, I mean, you do the course walk, you have all your sponsors, your partners. I wish I could be there and do a nice course walk before we have the competition.
Oh, we so wish. I was meant to be in Aachen for the first time this year, and I'm dreaming of it. It's going to be a lot of fun looking at the Champion of Champions. So if people are picking their teams in Eventing Manager, the horses that stand out, obviously Hail Bob has excellent Aachen form, won twice before. But what would you suggest? What advice would you give to people? What should they look out for as to things that will really stand them in good stead for competing, so to speak, in Aachen?
I think you must have a really fast horse cross country.
Okay.
It's easy, I think, in Aachen to have one rail down in the jumping, because the jumping arena in Aachen is huge in compare to other arenas. Same a little bit like the dressage stadium is built for the dressage riders, and the stadium and jumping the same. When we canter there around, we sometimes don't even use the whole showground, while the jumping arena is so huge. So it's a little bit different than other jumping arenas in the eventing scene or in the eventing world. So the important thing is that the horse is really fast and bold cross country, I would say.
Okay. There you go, listeners. A little tip from Ingrid as to horses to pick in Eventing Manager before Aachen Digital Champion of Champions on the 7th and 8th of August. Ingrid, I honestly could sit and chat to you for hours, but I must let you go. Just before you do, obviously Tokyo now 2021. I know that you had a fall earlier this year, back in May. How is your recovery going? Are things progressing in the right direction? Fingers crossed. That's what I'm hoping.
I'm really happy, and I already was sitting on the horse finding out that it works so well. Good. The doctors were happy because they said it healed much quicker than they expect. And I have my lovely team at home, kept all the horses in top form. So I'm already thinking about making a competition plan. So
excellent.
You will be soon back in the eventing August, autumn time, or see what comes.
see what's coming, but it's on the cards. That is fantastic news. Good.
Really
That's what we like to hear. And in terms of Tokyo 2021, as it is now, which still seems a little bit weird saying that, obviously SAP Hail Bob, he is the reigning European champion and would be sort of headlining your string. Are there any other horses that our listeners can be keeping an eye out for?
Yes, SAP Asha. She already, she's also qualified, so she had 2 horses in eventing. She is now 9, so this one more year that I can compete her in autumn or hopefully the next 3 or 2 months we have, I think is good for her because then she can gain a little bit more experience. She is in top shape with jumping and dressage all the time, so she's really also, I think, an exceptional horse. And Francisco's now being 12. The breeding season is over again for this year. What means for sure I will enjoy the winter indoor season with him. That we show that hopefully next year I again will have 3 horses qualified or in terms of selection wise.
Amazing. And 2 of those would be eventing and one of them, Franciscus, would be in the pure dressage. He actually won his international earlier this year, the Grand Prix in Dortmund. So he's been in incredible form. Ingrid, thank you so much for your time. I have absolutely loved hearing all of your Aachen memories and learning a little bit more about you. And I'm sure our listeners will have too. And so thank you very much for joining us.
Very welcome. And I'm really looking forward and think we'll be excited when it's going on, and hope that everybody will have great, exciting moments with the virtual eventing.
Absolutely. Listeners, if you haven't done already, you can go online onto your App Store, Google Play, download the Eventing Manager app, pick your teams. No pressure, but Ingrid is on this show, so maybe you should think about adding her in there. But pick your teams in Eventing Manager and play along with Aachen Digital Champion of Champions, which will be coming live on the 7th and 8th of August. It isn't in Aachen this year. We're very, very sad about that, but it is the next best thing. Who will be crowned Aachen Champion of Champions? Watch this space. But for now, Ingrid, a huge thank you once again. Listeners, thank you for joining us. We'll be back very soon on another episode of the Echo Ratings Eventing Podcast. Thank you for listening to the Echo Ratings Eventing Podcast. This podcast is available for free on iTunes, Spotify, Podcast Addict, or wherever you usually listen to your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Find us at eventingpodcast.com or search Eventing Podcast on social media.